I recently had an idea for a video I wanted to do, and I'm going to do it right now. I've been a big Melvins fan since the early 90s, and I thought it would be fun to go through their entire catalog and identify my favorite song on every album. So, this isn't a pretty ambitious endeavor given their really large catalog. They've been at it for a long time, they're pretty prolific, and I'm going to cover all their main albums, or all their albums. Well, I should say full releases. I'm not going to cover all the EPs, the singles, not every single collaboration, but certainly some of them. So, pretty much what I would consider their primary catalog. That's still 31 albums, it's a lot. So, I'm going to very quickly go through one by one and identify my favorite song. So, I'm going to use this wheel here to guide the conversation and make it kind of more interesting by going completely random, out of order. So let's do this and let's see how it goes here. All right. First up, first choice is Electro Retard. So Electro Retard is it's almost, I would say it's an EP actually. It doesn't feel like a full album, but nonetheless, this was a really easy choice for me. Youth of America, uh, love the song. It's a great song. It's one of my favorite Melvin songs. At least it's in my, certainly my favorite cover that they do, and it's in my top 20 for sure. It's a Wipers cover. The Wipers did this song in 1981. It's just an amazing cover. It's pretty long, and so is the original. So it's faithful in that sense. It's got a great drum fill in the middle of it, and being someone who played drums back in the day, I always paid a lot of attention to drums. It's one of the reasons I got into the Melvins is Dale Grover's so great, and this song is just it's fantastic. So Youth of America, check it out. It's got kind of a haunting sound to it towards the end too, which I really like. It's very atmospheric. Definitely a winner. The next one we're going to cover is The Pincus Abortion Technician. So this is one of their recent albums. This is 3 albums ago or so. It's with the bass player from the Butthole Surfers, and the album itself, my standout song on this one is actually a cover. It's part a cover of the Butthole Surfers, and then there's another part at the beginning that isn't a cover, as far as I can tell, and that is Stop Moving to Florida, which is my choice. I love Moving to Florida from the Butthole Surfers. I think it's great, and I was delighted that the Melvins decided to cover it. I saw them on this tour and for this album, and they played it, and so I was pretty stoked about that. The beginning is a different song, but it does do the full version of Stop Moving to Florida, and it's my favorite pick on this particular record. Next up is The Bootlicker. So The Bootlicker is the middle of a 3 series group of albums they did. I think they did them all within 1 year, and it's right about in the middle of their catalog. This series of 3. I shouldn't say it's in the middle. It's more in the sort of the first third. So this is a good album too. I really like it. It's got a couple of choices that I had to kind of wrestle with. For me, it was between Let It All Be, which was a staple at the time. I saw them on a tour around this time as well, and they always played this, and they played it for a while, and they still do. But Let It All Be is great. It's just such a fun song. Great drum beat in it. But my favorite song on this record is Merry Lady Bobbykins. Super creepy. It's very melodic. It's got great vocals, and the sped up part is a lot of fun and really changes the tone of the song. So Merry Lady Bobbykins has got to be my choice on this particular record. Next up is Three Men and a Baby. So Three Men and a Baby with Mike Kanka. I think that's his name. Is it Naka Kanka? Um, Not my favorite record from them. I had a little bit of a hard time getting into it, but nonetheless, it was pretty easy for me to pick a favorite song on this one. The standout for me, anyway, is Bummer Conversation. I like the drums a lot. Overall, it's just a good song. I haven't returned to this album all that much. I did re-listen to it in preparation for this video, and my opinion of it hasn't really changed that much. But nonetheless, that's it. You know, maybe it's a grower, but Bummer Conversation is definitely my favorite on this one. Next up is Honky. So Honky's a weird one. This is right around the my basically my favorite run of Melvins albums in the late '90s, and Honky is got a lot of songs on it that are kind of just, I don't know, not so great in my opinion. A lot of experimentation on this. I'm not a big fan of experimentation. I get it. But for me, super easy. What's the best song on this one is Mambias Hibachi. It's very frenetic. It's got good energy and pace. It's one of my favorite Melvin songs, actually. And for me, it was worth buying this album just for that song alone. I also really like In the Freak House, The Bugs Are Dying. It's another good one. It's kind of faster. I think it's at the end of the album. Worth getting for those two. But in general, also not a favorite of mine. Next up is Tres Cabrones. So Tres Cabrones, my favorite song on this one, and I had to listen to it a couple of times I hadn't spent a lot of time with this one, and I'm kind of glad that I went back and listened to it because I do really like it. And for me, American Cow is my favorite one on this one. After that, I would say Stump Farmer. It was really between those two for me when I was trying to pick my favorite. But American Cow, it's heavy as hell. A lot of sludge. The guitars sound like they were recorded in a giant dumpster or something. I once heard Buzz in an interview say he likes his guitar to sound like a car wreck. I think he's going for that. Certainly works in this one. But yeah, I would say that would be my favorite on this one, American Cow. All right, we're whittling down this list here quickly. Never Breathe What You Can't See. So this was the collaboration with Jello Biafra, and this is a lot of fun. I did not cover Sieg Howdy because that album is a lot of remixes and only a couple of other songs on it, so I sort of left it out for that reason. But Never Breathe What You Can't See. There's a lot of good ones on this. I do really like McGruff the Crime Dog. I think that's my favorite. It's really fast and heavy. I tend to like faster songs. That's just, I don't know. I'm kind of a metalhead, I guess, and I like their faster stuff. And everybody's on point in this song. Like, everything just sounds great. And there's a lot of, super listenable songs. Not a bunch of standouts for me, but I'm a fan of Jello Biafra. I like the stuff that he's done a bunch of stuff with other bands too. And I think this is really cool. So McGruff the Crime Dog would be my pick on this one. Next up is Bad Moon Rising. Bad Moon Rising was their most recent record as of recording of this video. Came out in 2022. And the pick for me on this one is Never Say You're Sorry. It's heavy, sludgy, and again, I love the lead guitar sound in this one. It sounds good to me, and I dig it quite a bit. Not a lot of memorable songs for me on this one. I think I need to spend more time with it. I've only listened to it a few times, so I definitely want to check out more of it. But the standout for me, Never Say You're Sorry. It's good stuff. All right. Next up is Working with God. So Working with God is the second to last album from them. Unless you count Five-Legged Dog. I did not put Five-Legged Dog in here. That's their double acoustic album where they play a bunch of their songs acoustically. I left that out because it felt a little bit like a greatest hits or a compilation, even though it's totally not, because it's completely different with the acoustic. Didn't cover that one, and that was between Working with God and Bad Moon Rising. But anyway, Working with God, this was a couple that I wrestled with, to call my favorite. The runner-up for me was Bouncing Rick. There's a great riff in this one, and it was a close second. But my favorite on Working with God was Hunt. Loved the guitar work and the vocals, so that edged out Bouncing Rick. But those are my two favorite on that record for sure. All right, moving right along. I think we're getting close to halfway through. Nude with Boots. Nude with Boots, I loved this when it came out. I still do. It's got a lot of really good songs on it. So it's one of my favorite albums from them. It's in the top 10, at least for me. It's in the double drummer lineup. And it's believe it's the second one that is in that configuration that they stuck with for a little while. I wanted to see them live when they were doing these records with the two drummers, and I just didn't get around to it for some reason. I don't know why, but love Nude with Boots. The Kicking Machine, that opening song, is fantastic. I really, really dig it. It's one of my favorite songs. The drums in it are great. The whole middle part just rules. Another one I really like a lot, and it's right up there with Kicking Machine, is Suicide in Progress. Love that song too. It's really good for different reasons. Kicking Machine, it's kind of faster, and I think maybe that's why it edged it out. But Suicide Progress is great. Something really interesting about Suicide in Progress is the opening guitar part. To me, sounds like the beginning opening credits of that cheesy 80s show Simon and Simon. If you ever get a chance to look it up, I haven't actually done a side-by-side listen, but that opening riff reminds me of Simon and Simon for some reason. But anyway, that's a kind of an aside. Another one too is the Smiling Cobra. I like that one. It's a hard one, meaning it's a very hard rock, kind of metally. It's got a lot of good yelling in it. I always like good yelling in a song. I also appreciate a lot the title track, Nude with Boots. So many great songs, but I got to go with Kicking Machine on this one. Next up is Prick. This is an interesting record in that it is a bunch of noise, basically. A lot of experimentation. I think it was intended to be... I don't know what it was intended to be. I heard it was kind of almost a joke, but I don't want to say that because, I don't remember where I read that. But it is super experimental. And it's right there, kind of like Honky. It's right there in the middle of just this great 3 albums that they had. That are probably my favorite 3 albums. We haven't covered any of them yet, but we're getting there. And it's noisy. I remember I bought it. This is pre-internet. You couldn't just listen to whatever before you bought it. There's no such thing as an MP3 when this came out. So as a faithful fan, I just bought it, and then I was disappointed when I heard, this is going to be a bunch of noise. And Maybe I just don't get it or whatever, but I don't super appreciate that. However, the song Larry would be my pick on this particular album. It's the most like an actual song. There's a lot of uh, kind of ambient tracks on Prick, which is what I think it maybe has going for it. It's good background, good to have on in the background. It's not something to rock out to. But I would say, How About the Underground is a good ambient track on Prick. Moving right along, we've got Houdini. Houdini is my favorite record from them. I think big Melvins fans puts Houdini in the top 2 or 3. I would think many do. It's such a really complete album. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It rocks really hard. I like almost all the. Well, I like all the tracks on it, but just every song is so good. My favorite was a little bit tough to pick, just because there's so many good songs on here. But I went with Honey Bucket, which is one of the. That's probably what a lot of people would say. It's a super popular song for whatever reason. I also really like Night Goat. Night Goat would probably be my second favorite. And I just like Honey Bucket because it's just such a killer opening. Probably one of the best openings to a song ever. The drums, the guitar, it just kicks so much ass. It's actually how I discovered the Melvins. It's kind of an odd way to discover them, but I saw a Honey Bucket video on on MTV. I believe it was MTV. Way back in when it came out. So I've been a fan ever since. Be 1993. It's just such a great song. Lizzie, Hooch, Hag Me, Teat, Joan of Arc. Those are all great songs. My favorites on that whole record. Just a masterpiece, really. Next is Hostile Ambient Takeover. So this is kind of in the middle of their catalog, and I like this one quite a bit too. My pick on this is the Brain Center at Whipple's. Reminds me a little bit of Buck Owens, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here. But it's got a lot of energy. It's got a lot going on with it. It's just straight ahead hard rock, and it's got a pretty cool part at the end where it's just the same part of the song repeated over and over, just going faster and faster. Dale's working really hard on this one. And there's other good tracks on it too. My voice is going out. That's not good. That's not good. I got more talking to do. So, Hostile Ambient Takeover, Brain Center at Whipple's. It's on my Melvins Greatest Hits record. That, if I made one for myself, dig that song a lot. Okay, next. That was right on the line there. Pigs of the Roman Empire. So Pigs of the Roman Empire is a collab album with Lustmord. I wasn't sure if I should include it in this roundup, just given the the criteria I was trying to use. But it's a solid album. It's a whole album of original material, so I figured it needed to be on the list. And The Bloated Pope is my favorite on this one. The guitar part at the beginning is killer. I can listen to it over and over again. Pink Bat is really noisy, but also really cool. It's probably my runner-up on this particular one. Definitely one to check out. Next up is The Crybaby. The Crybaby is the third in that series of 3 that they did back in the late 90s. The Maggot, the Bootlicker, and The Crybaby. The Crybaby is interesting in that it's all collaborations with a bunch of really cool artists. So super interesting album. The result, I think, is mixed. I think most people would agree, but super, maybe not accessible, but I really like the 2 David Yao songs, quite a bit. Blockbuster, which is a remake of Jesus Lizard Song, and Dry Drunk. I think the David Yao stuff with the Melvins is great. So it was really cool that they did two with him here. But I think the favorite or the best song, in my opinion, has to be the incredible song they did with Tool called Divorced. It's a really long song. It's got lots of different parts to it or phases to it. There's a neat part where the two drummers go back and forth, left, right channel, and kind of a drum off, I guess. It's not really a drum off, but that's kind of what it sounds like. And then the end is this kind of neat part where there's this long note that's held, and then you hear these two guys talking. I don't really know. I know what they're talking about, but I don't know if that's from something or what that is. But man, it's just a really unique song, and it's really cool. So if you haven't heard it, and you probably have if you're a fan, but you should check it out. Let's see. Freak Puke. Freak Puke is. I actually really like Freak Puke. I think it's got a couple really good songs or some really good songs. I don't know that it's as accessible as some of their other stuff, but the more I listen to it, the more I like it. So it's kind of grown on me. I would say my favorite on this one is Baby Won't You Weird Me Out. I love the riff in this one and the drums. And then the when the bass kicks in, it just sounds awesome. I also really like A Growing Disgust is the other song that I like a lot on this one. So those would be my two favorite, but Baby Won't You Weird Me Out is just a really cool song. So that's all I'll say about that. Okay, Hold It In. Hold It In is one of the album they did with couple Butthole Surfers guys. I believe. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And there's a particular song on this one. I actually like this one quite a bit the more I listened to it also. It was a big grower for me. Didn't love it at first. And then now I've gotten to like more and more of it. My favorite pretty easily is Onion Makes the Milk Taste Bad. I think that's a really cool song. It's got a great jam at the end. It's really fun guitar. I like the tone of the guitar a lot. It's kind of a tone he revisits in this kind of era of the Melvins, and the album's right around this one. And I dig it. It's good. It's like going for a different sound or something. I also like You Can Make Me Wait. It's got interesting vocals that I find very appealing. It's heavily distorted. It's very different for them, but I really like it. And also the bunk up. The instrumental break in the middle is really cool. It's just a really good song. Also different. So this album just feels different to me. And those are the standouts for me anyway. Next up is Ozma. Is it Ozma or is it Ozma? This is their second album. So this is going back to 1989. I was in high school when this came out, although I did not know of them yet at this point. The song At a Crawl is my favorite on this one. Again, drums are really cool. The whole song is great. And they play this one still live quite a bit. I think it must be really popular. They like to play it. The last time I saw them perform live, they played that, and I was pretty stoked. So, At a Crawl, all the Melvins fans know that one. All right, we're getting down to it now. Senile Animal. Senile Animal, I think, is probably one of their best albums. And this is the first album they do, the collaboration that includes the two drummer set configuration setup. And this one has just got so many good songs on it. It's fast and aggressive, and it's right about the middle of their catalog. And it's just got so much going for it. It's the pacing of it. It just hits you really hard and doesn't really let up, which I really like. It's very hard rock. Talking Horse, Civilized Worm, History of Drunks, The Hawk, You've Never Been Right. All those are my favorite songs, but I think my favorite overall on this one is Rat-Faced Granny. I had to really think about this one. There's so many songs that I like on it. It was difficult for me to pick one, but I do think Rat-Faced Granny is my favorite. If I listen to it another 10 times, I might pick another one, but it's hard to beat Rat-Faced Granny. It's just a great song. All right, next up is Stag. Stag, I think, is one of those where there's a lot of experimentation in it, but it's laced with just some great songs all throughout. I think it's the album in their catalog that has the most songs on it that I like, the most number of songs on it that I really, really like. So it's one of my favorite. It may be my second favorite or third favorite, or at least in the top 5. I'll say that much. It's for sure in the top 5. And on this one, I really like Buck Owens. Buck Owens is it's another fast song. I just think it's great. And there's a lot of super short songs. So some of the songs I really like are like a minute and a half. But they're actually really catchy. And I find myself getting these songs stuck in my head a lot. There's just so many good ones on here. I could do a whole video on this particular album. It was the last of the Atlantic Contract records. The 3 in a row that I thought were so great with that particular contract they were in. I think I may be getting this wrong actually. Houdini, Stoner Witch, Stag. Those 3 in a row, which is kind of my early years of being a Melvins fan. As those came out and I was buying them, I was just like, man, this band is incredible. And then it wasn't until a little later that I went back in the catalog and got to appreciate the other songs, which I think we're going to get to right now. Okay, Lysol. Lysol is interesting. Probably doesn't belong in this because it's an EP at the most. It's one track. I think it's one track. Is it 2 tracks? It might be 1 or 2 tracks. Now I think I've screwed this up. Anyway, Lysol's it's actually a bunch of songs that are munched together into one big long track. Wasn't sure to include that in this video, but I did anyway. The part that I like is Sacrifice. Sacrifice is my favorite of I believe it's 5 tracks that make up a part of this, and it's a Flipper song that they cover, and it's right in the middle of Lysol. Came out in '92. Thought I would include it. There's some controversy with the album where they had to tape the title because of Lysol the Cleaner or something like that. I didn't do my research on this, but I remember that being the case. So anyway, threw that in here. Anyway, Bullhead. Now, Bullhead is in my my top 5 for sure, probably top 3. It's an incredible album, and it was actually right before Lysol. I think it came out before Lysol. Yeah, it did. So my favorite on this one is Zodiac. Love the energy of this. There's some really great live versions of it that I've seen. Again, it's the drums, it's the pace. Totally love the particularly the first couple minutes of the song, and then the song kind of changes. Still great, and my pick for the favorite on this one. Also, Boris, Anaconda is great, and the other one I like a lot is If I Had an Exorcism. I like the weird voices and stuff. It's a strange song. I put it on the Halloween playlist that my family put together, and when it came up, everybody was like, "What the hell is this?" And I don't know. I think it's great. Bullhead, definitely. If I were to say get 3 albums from the Melvins, you got to get Bullhead's got to be one of them. You got to check it out. All right, we're getting close here. The Bride Screamed Murder. So this is an album that came out, and I was super stoked that they kept up such great momentum. This is another one that was really, really good. So we had the Senile Animal, Nude with Boots, in 2006, 2008, and then 2 years later, in 2010, they came out with The Bride Screamed Murder. And the song Electric Flower is my pick for this one. This is an incredible song. It's so good. It's got one of my all-time favorite riffs from Buzz on this. I like the rim shots that are used in it. There's some good shouting, which I always appreciate. The other ones on this that I like a lot, there's a lot that I like on this one. A lot. I'm saying a lot, which is annoying. Pig House, Hospital Up. The whole middle is so cool. The isolated bass with drums and then the harmonizing that's in that song. It's a standout for me for that reason. There's 5 songs on this album that I really like a lot that make it on my my favorite Melvin song list. But Electric Flower is the standout for me and my pick for best song. Okay, Eggnog. Eggnog's another one. Not sure that belongs on this list. It's an EP. It came out after Ozma, and it was before Ozma, and it came out before Bullhead. The song I like on this one by far the most is Anti-Toxidote. I think I'm saying that right. I may be saying it wrong, but Anti-Toxidote. It's got that part in the middle where he's saying "Pigs don't let it." Pigs don't let it, and it's kind of isolated. Well, it's drums, and I don't know. I'm starting to lose it trying to go through all these, but Anti-Oxidote is my choice for Eggnog. Okay, next up is The Maggot. The Maggot is the first of that series of 3 albums that they released pretty close together. Again, all within 1 year. The Maggot is probably my favorite of the 3 of this little series that they did. It is, it's super hardcore. It's like a metal album. They just went all out with the heaviness. And since I tend to like that kind of music an awful lot, it became a standout for me. They do the super annoying thing where they split all the tracks in half, which makes it a nightmare if you like to load up a bunch of songs and listen to them on random. It's probably just a poke in the eye to the record company, or they're just being difficult to be difficult, or whatever the reason is. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Love the album anyway. It's pretty easy to stitch the songs together into one track. So, I mean, it hasn't always been easy, but it's easy these days, I should say. So The Maggot, my favorite song is the cover they do, the Fleetwood Mac cover, the green Manalishi with the 2-prong crown. Excellent cover. I've talked about some of the covers that I really like that they've done. This one's up there as one of my favorites. And This was written by Peter Green. It's very early Fleetwood Mac, and they do a great job with this song. Up next, Bulls and the Bees. This is another one that is not really, arguably, not an album. It's got, I think the back half of it, or a chunk of it, is Electric Retard re-release. We already covered that, but there is some original material on this, I'm pretty sure. But I wasn't a big fan of it when it first came out, because it was stuff I had already had and had some re-releases that I thought were just okay. But upon re-listening a few times, I do really like some of the songs on there a lot. We Are Doomed is my pick for this particular one. And the only reason, I didn't want to do Youth of America, because I already covered that with Electric Retard. So I disqualified that, and I just picked everything that wasn't that for consideration for this one. So We Are Doomed takes its time. It's a good listen. It's got a lot of great riffs in it. The middle section is just killer. It goes through to the end with some good percussion. There's a couple other ones on here that are good too. In general, worth getting for sure. But We Are Doomed is the standout track on this one. Everybody loves sausages. Everybody loves sausages. This is their cover album. They do a bunch of covers. Not my favorite release from them. I think it's just okay for me. But I do like Attitude quite a bit. So Attitude is my pick. My choice for my favorite song on this one. Attitude is a Kinks song. They do a good job of covering it. I also like Warhead. Warhead's fun too. I think that's the first track. But I gotta go Attitude. Okay. A Walk with Love and Death. This was an interesting double release album that they did in 2017. It's got two sides to it, or two parts to it. There's the death side and then the love side. So I decided to pick a favorite from each and an overall favorite. So my overall favorite on this one is Soberdelic, Acid Only. It is one of my favorite Melvins songs also, and it's one of my, well, it's hard to say because there's so many of them. I'd say it's in my top 20 easily, though. There's 4 songs that I really like, but on the death side of this. But this one is my favorite by far. It's creepy. It's got a solid riff. I like some of the softer vocals in it. It adds to the creepiness. It feels kind of sad. It's easy listening also. It's just a great song. The love side is reminds me a little bit of like Prick. It's got a bunch of ambient kind of noise. So I don't even know, if you don't like stuff like that, then probably skip listening to a lot of this. But I do like the Street Level St. Paul would be my choice on the love side if I were to have a choice. It's a wall of noise, a lot of distortion. It's got this really cool whirring sound in the back that reminds me of early Tad. If you like Tad from Sub Pop albums, they did, I think it's Salt Lick, whatever. That guitar sound that they have kind of backing their music, it came out to me in this Street Level St. Paul song. Super random, but anyway, that's what I would pick. And overall, Soberdelic for sure. Bases Loaded. Bases Loaded is kind of later in their catalog, and my choice for this one is Hideous Woman. It hits you in the face. The vocals are super varied. There's a cool echo, and I like the guitar part at the end. The other ones on this one that I like are Beer Hippie and Captain Come Down. So those three are my favorite on that album. Straightforward, heavy, a lot of layered guitar work, speeds up. There's kind of a weird vocal effect too. I'm talking about Captain Come Down. But my choice for favorite on this one is Hideous Woman. Plus, it's kind of a cool title. All right, we're down to two. Stoner Witch, one of my favorites. So, Stoner Witch came out, I guess technically it came out after Prick. And Prick was not part of their Atlantic contract. I think they had to spell their name backwards on the record to legally release it, which is interesting because it's, basically a bunch of noise, as we had already covered. But Stoner Witch was essentially a follow-up to Houdini, and huge shoes to fill, and they totally do it with this. Stoner Witch is fantastic. My favorite song is Queen on this one. Revolve is right there. Revolve is just such an accessible, good song. It's just a solid song. But I gotta go Queen. I also really like Sweet Willie Roll Bar, Road Bull, Junebug, and At the Stake are the other ones that I like. So a whole bunch of winners on Stoner Witch. It's got a cool cover of the swan on it. I thought about getting a shirt, actually. It's kind of a weird design for a shirt. I think it would make a good conversation piece. Stoner Witch. It's that's another one that's in my top 5, I would say. And that leaves, I don't know what happens to this wheel when it's down to 1. That leaves, kind of silly to even spin it, but I am curious what happens. Oh, okay, disappears, and then you just have the centerpiece there. I didn't know that. Gluey porch treatment. So we end this kind of comprehensive, quick look at favorites of all the Melvins albums with their first. So we're ending with the beginning. My favorite on this one is Exact Paperbacks. It's my favorite. It's kind of a well, they're all sort of punk sounding songs, but this one's a little faster, and it's a standout for me. I've re-listened to this a few times lately, 2 or 3 times in the last few months, and Exact Paperbacks, I would say, is my favorite, but right up there is Fly Eyes and Flex With You. I would put right there at the beginning, among my favorites. Wow. So that's it. That is my review of my favorite song on every Melvins record. I'm sure Melvins fans, if we were to compare notes, I'm sure there would be some alignment there. Probably. But there is an awful lot of goodness to pick from. And, if I did this again in 5 years, it may even be different. Anyway, that's it. I've definitely talked long enough about this. And I hope you enjoyed it. And have a good one.